Why are the United States and China ready to risk everything for a frozen crater at the bottom of the moon? While this jagged wasteland sits in eternal darkness, whoever holds the Lunar South Pole controls the gateway to Mars. This isn't science fiction. It is the most contested frontier in human history. According to recent intelligence, the area is already being targeted. From Chinese landers aiming for the dark side to NASA scrambling to redirect its massive SLS rockets, the threat is silent and it is urgent. But why this specific spot? Why pour billions into a place that kills electronics in seconds? Because this is the Persian Gulf of the solar system. Buried inside these shadowed craters is the only water ice accessible for rocket fuel. It is a strategic choke point. Control the ice and you possess a kill switch for the entire solar system. You decide who flies to Mars and who stays grounded on Earth. The winner gets the stars, the loser gets left behind. But the fear isn't just about politics. It's about survival in a hellscape. Before they can build a base, they have to survive a bombardment of cosmic rays and temperatures cold enough to shatter steel. The race is on, and the finish line is a trap. We have analyzed the players, and the board is already being set. While the United States was focused on low Earth orbit, China has been playing the long game. The White House has already issued warnings about Beijing's rapid acceleration in space capabilities, but the reality on the ground, or rather, on the regolith, is even more alarming. China isn't just sending probes, they are claiming territory. Their Chang missions have already done what was once considered impossible by landing on the dark side of the moon. Now, they are joining forces with Russia to build the ILRS, the International Lunar Research Station. This is not a temporary outpost. It is a declaration of intent. It is a rival axis of power designed to challenge the American-led Artemis Accords. And the target of this alliance is specific. They are hunting for the resources that will power the next century. We are talking about helium-3, a potential fuel for clean fusion energy that could solve Earth's power crisis forever. And more importantly, they are hunting for water. In the deep, shadowed craters of the South Pole, water isn't just for drinking. It is rocket fuel. It is hydrogen and oxygen waiting to be unlocked. Whoever controls those ice deposits controls the gas stations of the future. The Russian and Chinese strategy is clear: get there first, set up the extraction infrastructure, and turn the South Pole into a restricted zone. But the fear isn't just about geopolitics. It is about the sheer, mechanical impossibility of the environment. The step-by-step process of taking the moon requires a direct comparison between the two forces at play. On one side, you have the financial might of the United States. The Artemis program is projected to cost over $93 billion. The US commands the most advanced aerospace engineering on the planet, with the massive SLS rocket and the private sector prowess of SpaceX. We have a history of putting boots on the ground. But on the other side, you have the South Pole of the moon, and the moon does not care about your budget. Despite a significant increase in technology since the Apollo era, the moon remains a graveyard for robots. In the last few years alone, nearly 50% of all landing attempts by various nations and private companies have ended in failure. They crash, they tip over, they go silent. If the US deployed its entire budget tomorrow, it would still be fighting against physics. The disparity is terrifying. Human technology is a candle, the moon's environment is a blizzard. Consider the dust. This isn't sand like you find on a beach. Lunar dust is made of tiny, razor-sharp shards of glass created by meteorite impacts over billions of years. It shreds spacesuits, it destroys seals, it clogs engines. During the Apollo missions, it wore through layers of Kevlar in days. Now we are asking machines to survive in it for years. Then there is the darkness. At the South Pole, the sun acts differently. It skims the horizon, creating shifting, miles-long shadows that confuse sensors and hide massive craters. But the real killer is the temperature. In the permanently shadowed regions, the temperature drops to minus 248 degrees Celsius. That is colder than the surface of Pluto. At that temperature, metal becomes brittle like glass. Electronics die instantly. Batteries drain to zero. The US brings titanium, carbon fiber, and AI to the table. The moon brings a vacuum that boils your blood and radiation that scrambles your DNA. The strategy for the Arctic was a tripwire, but the strategy for the moon is a meat grinder. We are trying to build a civilization on a world that is actively trying to kill us. There is no atmosphere to protect us. There is no magnetic field to shield us. There is only the cold, the radiation, and the relentless, abrasive dust. So, how does the United States plan to overcome a rival superpower and a hostile planet at the same time? We can't just land. We have to dominate. We need a plan that turns this frozen hell into a fortress. Let's look at the step-by-step breakdown of how NASA and its allies intend to secure the ultimate high ground. Step 1, the orbital gateway. The operation begins not with a landing, but with a stranglehold on the sky. The United States is not just sending a ship, it is deploying a permanent station called Gateway into a near rectilinear halo orbit. This specific orbit is the ultimate sniper's perch. It sits balanced between the Earth and the Moon, allowing for constant line of sight communication with the South Pole while remaining accessible for supply runs. Whoever controls this orbit controls the flow of traffic to the surface. It acts as the command center, the customs office, and the watchdog. By placing the gateway here, NASA creates a digital and physical choke point. Any Chinese or Russian vessel attempting to approach the strategic craters would have to pass through this surveillance net. It effectively creates a no-fly zone over the most valuable real estate in the solar system without ever firing a missile. In the first phase alone, the sky belongs to the Artemis coalition. Once the high ground is secured, the strategy shifts to sheer, overwhelming mass. In step 2, we have the vertical blockade. To keep rivals from establishing a foothold, you don't need a wall, you need a supply chain that buries them. This is where the Starship human landing system comes into play. Forget the tiny, spider-like landers of the Apollo era. Starship is a skyscraper. It stands taller than the Statue of Liberty and has more internal volume than the International Space Station. While competitors are planning to land cramped capsules that can barely hold 3 astronauts and a few days of supplies, the US is dropping a heavy, lift freighter capable of delivering 100 tons of cargo in a single run. This creates a vertical blockade because it completely monopolizes the logistics of the region. The US Navy uses destroyers to block oceans, NASA uses Starship to flood the zone. We can deploy heavy excavators, habitats, and industrial machinery before the competition can even unload their luggage. It creates an insurmountable gap in capability. By the time a rival nation lands a single research probe, the US has already offloaded an entire industrial park. It seizes the operational tempo, forcing everyone else to play catch-up in a race they have already lost. But landing is only the beginning. The moon has a weapon that defeats almost all technology: darkness. Step 3 is the nuclear heart. The South Pole is a land of extreme shadows. Solar panels here are unreliable. In the deep craters where the ice hides, they are useless. If you rely on the sun, you die. So, the US is bringing its own sun. The solution is the kilopower reactor using KRUSTY technology. These are portable, automated nuclear fission reactors the size of a paper towel roll. They don't care about the night. They don't care about dust storms blocking the sun. They provide kilowatts of continuous, unshakable power for 10 years without refueling. This is the logistics leap that changes the game. While other nations' rovers will be forced to hibernate during the lunar night or skirt the edges of the light, American machines powered by nuclear hearts can drive directly into the blackest, coldest craters and keep working 24/7. It provides the mobile firepower needed to heat the habitats and keep the life support running. It is a thermal shield against the absolute zero of deep space. With power secured, we move to the prize itself. Step 4 is securing the ice. The final step of the initial phase is securing the assets you can't see until you dig. NASA is deploying the VIPR rover, a golf cart-sized robot equipped with a meter-long drill. Its mission is to hunt. It drives into the permanent shadows to map the distribution of water ice. But this isn't just science, it's claim staking. Once the ice is located, the extraction begins. Using a process called electrolysis, this ice is split into liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. This is the kill switch. Liquid hydrogen and oxygen are the 2 most potent components of rocket fuel. By turning the lunar surface into a gas station, the US breaks the tyranny of the rocket equation. We no longer have to carry fuel from Earth to get home or to go further. We make it there. A rival nation relying on fuel brought from Earth is tethered to a massive logistical tail. The US, refueling on the ground, becomes untethered. We establish a 24/7 resource monopoly that creates a self-sustaining economy while the competition is still paying for shipping. Finally, we have to ensure we never have to leave. Step 5 is the permanent citadel. In the past, we visited the moon. This time, we are colonizing it. But you cannot fly concrete to the moon, it's too heavy. So, the strategy transforms. We use the moon against itself. Partnering with companies like ISON, the US is deploying Project Olympus. This is a massive, multi-purpose construction system that uses 3D printing technology. But it doesn't print plastic, it prints rock. It scoops up the razor-sharp, toxic lunar dust that is so dangerous to humans, melts it down using lasers, and prints it into blast shields, landing pads, and habitat shells. These aren't flimsy tents, they are bunkers. The walls are thick enough to block cosmic radiation and withstand micrometeorite impacts. In just a matter of months, the American presence on the island swells from a temporary campsite to a hardened, fortified base. By constructing landing pads with this lunar concrete, we also solve the dust problem, allowing starships to land and take off without blasting debris into orbit. This creates a permanent, inescapable American footprint. The map has changed. The South Pole is officially under new management. We aren't just camping, we are building a city. And once that foundation is printed, it becomes the anchor for everything that follows, from the pressurized rovers to the fusion plants. The flag is no longer just a symbol, it's a property marker. This 5-step strategy turns the hostile vacuum into a controlled environment. We control the orbit, we dominate the logistics, we bring our own power, we seize the fuel, and we build the fortress. But looking at this map, a question remains. The moon is a big place. If the South Pole is so contested and so difficult, why don't the rivals just go somewhere else? Why not just land on the equator or the dark side and avoid the conflict entirely? Well, that sounds logical, but let's look at the logistical nightmare for the Chinese military if they try to bypass the pole. To reach a sustainable lunar presence without controlling the South Pole, Beijing, or any other nation, has 3 options, and all of them are traps. Path 1 is the equatorial route. This is where the Apollo missions landed. It is flat, it is easy to reach, and it offers a direct line of sight to Earth. Hugging the lunar equator seems like the path of least resistance. But there is a catch. The lunar day lasts 14 Earth days, followed by 14 days of absolute night. For a short visit, this is fine. For a permanent base, it is lethal. Without the specialized lighting conditions of the poles, a base here would need massive, heavy battery banks to survive 2 weeks of darkness. And when the sun returns, the temperature swings from minus 170 degrees Celsius to plus 120 degrees in an instant. This thermal shock shreds infrastructure. It expands and contracts metal until it fatigues and fails. To build here, China would need to ship significantly more mass just to keep the lights on. It creates a logistical drag that makes the base unsustainable compared to an American outpost sitting in eternal sunshine. Path 2 is the far side. This is the jagged maze of the moon's back. It is scientifically valuable because it is shielded from Earth's radio noise, but strategically, it is a nightmare. The moon itself blocks all signals. To operate here, China must maintain a constellation of relay satellites in unstable orbits just to talk to their astronauts. If those satellites fail, or if they are jammed, the base goes silent. It is total isolation. Any movement here puts China at the mercy of a fragile communication link that can be severed at a moment's notice. It is a logistical nightmare and a communications tripwire. Path 3 is the random approach, landing anywhere else in the highlands. But this faces the energy crisis. The South Pole is unique because of the peaks of eternal light, mountain ridges that receive sunlight nearly 90% of the year. Nowhere else on the moon has this. If you land anywhere else, you are starving for power. You are forced to rely on nuclear reactors for everything, increasing the cost and complexity of every single mission. The South Pole allows for a hybrid grid of solar and nuclear, giving the US a massive energy redundancy that other sites lack. As the ice becomes the oil of the space age, these aren't just landing zones. They are corridors of power projection. The South Pole is the only place where water, light, and communication converge. It is the strategic choke point of cislunar space. If they can master any of those alternative routes, China or Russia might be able to survive on the moon. But to thrive, to launch missions to the rest of the solar system, they need the pole. Geography decides destiny even in space. The collision course is set because there is no second prize. We have analyzed the strategy, the technology, and the geography, but the moon is just the first island in this ocean. We also made a deep dive into the next phase of this expansion. The moon is the testing ground, but Mars is the destination. The technologies we are perfecting today, the nuclear hearts, the ice drills, and the printed fortresses are the exact same tools we will use to terraform the red planet. So, subscribe for more videos to not miss a beat. The race for the solar system has just begun, and you need to know what happens in Step 6. Ultimately, this scramble for the South Pole isn't just about national pride or strategic dominance. It is about the next chapter of the human species. We aren't going back to the moon just to visit. We are going there to learn how to leave. Every reactor tested and every liter of water drilled in the lunar south is a rehearsal for the real journey. The moon is just the launch pad. Mars is the destination. We have analyzed how to conquer the moon, but how do we turn a dead red world into a second Earth? In our next breakdown, we will reveal the engineering reality behind the 5 steps to terraforming Mars. You don't want to miss the blueprint for our future home. So hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.